zoning ordinance. It's spelled out in there what you have to do if you want to have a doggy daycare, which is otherwise called a commercial kennel. Remember, you're taking a residential piece of property, and now you're converting it to commercial property. It's no longer going to be taxed as a residential property. She's going to be using it for commercial business to generate money. So yes, there's a lot of, oh, I take care of the dogs, I'm providing a public service. It's a for-profit venture. So be that as it may, I still don't care. Let her run a for-profit business, but this is your ordinance that you're supposed to be upholding, not mine. I didn't write it. I only happen to live next door, across the street from the lady, when your zoning officer gave her a letter of violation. Forget all that. What I want to know tonight is, what is the board prepared to do as far as placing conditions on the property that's going to make it safe, sanitary, quiet, and again, the hours. She needs to have hours of operation. This isn't Las Vegas or New York City. You can't run a 24/7, 365 doggy daycare business. I'm tired of hearing dogs barking at 6:30 on Easter morning. No. It's got to be like Mill Pond or Allentown or Quakertown Veterinary Clinic. You have hours. Here's the hours. You bring your dog between 6 and 10. You pick your dog up between 3 and 6. Any business, you would put that restriction on, not just this particular business. The other thing is, I'd like to see this conditional use expire when the property is either sold or changes hands. My main concern is, once this is approved, now that property carries with it the conditional use, and the next person that wants to run a commercial kennel may not be as benevolent as this applicant. They may want to file for a bigger number of dogs. They may want to have a rescue mission for pit bulls. They may want to, who knows what they want to do with it. They may want to tear down all the buffer. So what you're going to do here this evening affects the neighborhood in infinitum. So I think you should be very careful to think about what we're doing. If the desire of the board is to give her the conditional use to run her doggy daycare, then it should come with a certain set of conditions that are spelled out in the ordinance. So we're not asking for anything that's not in the ordinance. We want cedars on 3-foot center lines. We want a traffic study. Is her driveway wide enough? If it is, that's fine. Who cares? If you need to have another driveway, then she has to get another driveway. That's beyond my pay grade. We have a township engineer. Let them go out and take a look and see what it is all about, and let them decide. That's out of our hands. Furthermore, it's spelled out in the ordinance that when a use of a property changes from one use to another, the Bucks County Department of Sanitation must be called in and must have a certificate on the entire property. It's the same as if you sell your house to someone else. They got to come in and inspect the septic system. They got to inspect your property before you can sell it to someone else. I believe that's the law. It's the same thing when you change the use of a property, according to the zoning ordinance. And that's what was spelled out in the zoning hearing board. You should call the Bucks County Department of Health, have them come in and inspect the property. If it's fine, good, then we're all good. If it's no good and she has to do something to meet a requirement for the Bucks County Department of Health, so be it. So what I'm trying to say here is, we've exhausted we're just exhausted, put it that way. Continuances and secret meetings and not being notified. We actually came to a meeting on the May 7th and we got here and we're told that, oh, it's been continued. Well, I'm tired of having to give up my Tuesday nights and putting it on the calendar every month and then finding out and calling the township office and, was it on tonight? Is it off tonight? Well, they're asking, but this thing could have been settled back in January. It's that simple. Instead, everybody wants to blow the thing up until it becomes a federal case. So with that, I will sit down.
Are there any other parties that wish to make argument tonight? Can you state your name so we get it on the record?
Roxy Richards. I would just say I'm very concerned about the traffic. You're right, it is very high traffic and cars travel fast. Her driveway is kind of hidden in there and it is very narrow. And even though she has a circle, she says, cars are continuing to stop on the road as someone else pulls out. You know, the circle is way back. It's not like right in the front there. I mean, one person can come in and come out at a time. It's not wide enough for two. And the barking, since she has like overnights, we hear barking in the middle of the night. And I do know that where they're coming, it's coming from, because you can hear it. It's just, and we may have one dog next to us, which I never said we didn't. But that's one dog barking. When there's 25 dogs barking, it's a lot. You know, and so that's basically all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Any other parties that wish to make argument? All right, ma'am, did you get parties added? Okay, I'm going to allow for public comment in a minute, okay? So can you
What?
hang on?
She might be.
It just went down. I live there at 2200 Tavern Road.
Okay, well, we're going to allow for public comment. So if you can hang in there just for another minute. Anyone else who was recognized as a party previously that wishes to make argument? All right, for the record, there's no response. I'm now going to allow for public comment. And then, Peter, I have not forgotten. We're going to get to you, but you have public comment, ma'am? Please state your name and then your address, okay?
Yes, my name is Lisa Bernstein. I reside at 2200 Brick Tavern Road.
Okay.
I'd just like to state for the record, the parking situation, I understand, we've tried to work on making the neighbors happy in any kind of way, shape, or form that we can. When you first drive into the driveway is, you drive in, there's one car length, maybe one car length, before you could turn out on either side. You have a turnaround that goes around this way, and you also have parking on the left. That's in front of the gate. Okay. When you go behind the gate, you also have plenty more parking behind there. I understand with the issues like Brick Tavern Road, anybody that knows, like they said, people drive down that street 100 miles an hour, no joke. We've never had any accidents in front of our house. We've never had any kind of issues like that. Any issues that we've had where people have backed out, we've made signs to tell them, please do not back out, turn around, make sure that you go out properly. We cut down trees to make sure that you can see both ways. We try to do what we can to make people happy. I know that, like, you know, I'd like to see this end too, for everybody, you know, like, and become neighborly and be able to do the right thing. Jean does try and work on everything that she can to try and, you know, minimize the noise. You know, if it's loud, and you're right, you know, there should be certain hours, you know, pick up, drop off, that's understandable. You know, there's things that she's willing to work with too, but like, I think that other people should just, instead of stating what you need to do, or what you're, you know, you guys are doing what you're supposed to do. Thank you for hearing me out, thank you for hearing Jean out, thank you for hearing everybody. I just think that, for the record, she is doing a good thing for the neighborhood. And, you know, and we're not the only ones that have dogs. The neighbors down the street, I could hear them over my dogs barking. There's two of them, not just one, but two of them that are very loud. We have Mill Pond. I can hear Mill Pond's dogs from our house. So there's dogs all around, and it's, of course, all around our neighbors as well. And I just don't feel that we should get blamed for every dog that barks on that street. I'd like that to be in consideration. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Bernstein. Anyone else who wishes to give public comment? All right, seeing none, Mr. Nelson, if you have the burden of proof, we'll allow you to give argument last.
Great, thank you very much. Thank the board for this long, arduous journey. Greatly appreciate you being patient with my client, allowing her to actually come out and hire an attorney and work through these issues. As my client stated, you know, she was operating this business for well over a decade with no one related to the township, with no one having any issue with it, and for whatever reason, it just all blew up about a year ago, a little over a year ago. I also wish to point out to the board, you know, as soon as she received the enforcement notice, she undertook the, what she felt was a necessary means to bring her property and her use into compliance, which is why we're here. She applied for a conditional use. And I just want to remind the board, under your zoning ordinance, this kennel use is an allowed use on the property. This is not, she's not seeking a variance for a use that's not allowed. She's not trying to put a use into the zoning district that's improper. This is an allowed use on her property. Furthermore, she meets every aspect of the zoning ordinance except one, which was a 200-foot setback. And you properly directed her at the hearing earlier this year to go seek a variance to that 200-foot setback, which she did, which she has received. So she meets all of the conditions necessary to be granted this conditional use. And I'm sure Mr. McNair will explain to you that this is not a discretionary decision on the board. Once she proves she meets all the requirements of the conditional use, she has a right to be granted that conditional use. As far as the conditions being attached to the grant of this use, if you read through that zoning hearing board decision, there are numerous conditions that were attached to the zoning hearing board decision that she has already agreed to. And she has attempted to work with the township and with the neighbors to try to minimize and mitigate the issues that have been raised throughout these hearings. That being said, I think there are some conditions that were being raised here that I think go beyond what is necessary or what would be effective in dealing with this, this kennel. When you agreed under this, when whoever, be it this board or prior board, decided to make a kennel and allowed use within this zoning district, that board knew that there would be barking. You can't have a kennel without barking. You cannot stop dogs from barking. It's gonna happen. And if you're gonna allow a kennel use in this zoning district, you're gonna allow some amount of barking. And to say, okay, we want to eliminate all barking, I think is an improper condition. It's legally unenforceable. It's practically unenforceable. Now, Ms. Bernstein has attempted to undertake various actions to minimize the barking. This is why she moved everything back from the road to try to get the 200-foot distance to her neighbors. That's why she put up the solid fencing to prevent the dogs from reacting to things they see on the road over at the neighbors. She had moved the dogs out of the barn. She's now keeping them entirely in the house overnight, which is well over 200 feet away from the road. So she has undertaken a lot of actions to try to minimize barking as best they can. But to put in a condition to say that no barking is allowed or you can't have barking dogs, I think it would be improper. She's also undertaken, means to try to buffer the property. The solid fencing she undertook herself. No one required her to do it. She did it herself in reaction to the comments made by the neighbors. She has also undertaken some planting, and I think she's willing to undertake some more planting within reason. But to have her put in 200 trees and a berm at the cost of $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 is ridiculous. Her business cannot financially handle that, and nor would that actually provide $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 worth of extra relief to the neighbors. If you looked at the photos we handed you tonight, the property is very well buffered. And yes, come winter time, some of that foliage will fall and it will be more open. But she now knows that this is an issue for the neighbors. And she has, she said tonight, she's planted some and she plans to plant more. So we think the buffering would be, that will be taken care of. As far as the driveway goes, there is no ordinance requirement requiring her, to have a larger driveway, to put in a two-way driveway. And as she stated, and I don't think the neighbors, provided any testimony at any time, there's never been an accident caused by anyone entering or leaving her driveway. Obviously, if there were accidents, then that would be something we would need to address. But this is not a common problem. It is not a huge problem. It's not causing accidents. Once again, no one complained about it for 13 years. So to require her to put in a much larger driveway, I don't think it's really going to address any true problem whatsoever. As far as the sanitation goes, that is a state dog law issue. It's not a zoning issue. It's a state dog law issue. And the state inspects her twice a year. And if she doesn't comply with that, she's got a whole host of problems. Doesn't matter what you guys decide. You know, she has to comply with whatever the statement says. As far as, you know, disposal of waste, she's disposing of the dog's waste that she can. To ask her or require her to dispose of urine some way is, I think, a bit ridiculous. And there's actually no proof, either factually here, or even scientifically, that the dog's urine is somehow going to affect the groundwater or negatively affect the properties. And once again, I go back to the fact that this is an allowed use within the zoning district. You know, when the township allowed this use to be here, it recognized that dogs were going to produce waste, and that was appropriate for this use for the zoning district. Lastly, as to the septic issues, I disagree with the neighbor, Mr. Fournier, who talked about Department of Health coming out. That's actually not, I completely disagree with him. That's not how it operates. They do not come out and do inspections of dog kennels. That's not their job. They don't have regulations regarding it. They do inspections for septic systems. She has a septic system. It's functioning. She does not need it to be re-inspected. And the fact that she has a dog kennel there does not trigger any need for a re-inspection. The dogs aren't using the septic system. But, you know, the septic system serves her single-family home. It's functional. It's not having any problems. Therefore, there's no need for the Bucks County Department of Health to go out to inspect it. Lastly, as to hours. As far as the hours go, the only reason to do this is, you know, from a noise issue for the barking dogs. However, my client said flat out, drop off and pick up isn't a huge problem for the barking dogs. And one of the aspects of her running her business in her fashion is that she provides flexible schedules to her clients. And that's one of the reasons why her clients go with her. I have a dog. I use a doggy daycare for my dog. I kennel my dog when we go away on vacation at times. And it can be a real problem because you have to get the dog by a certain amount of time or else it stays overnight again, which triggers, you know, a lot of expense. And it's not something you want the dog to do. You'd rather have the dog in your house. So Ms. Bernstein is flexible with that. And I think, you know, as far as a single pickup late at night, that's not going to cause a lot of barking, a lot of noise, or a lot of traffic. If you do feel that hours are going to be required, I would ask that the hours be somewhat flexible. That if she does have someone who's picking up the dog late, who's boarding, or who's kenneling, that it's not absolute that they can't do it. That she puts out hours that, okay, this is my drop-off, this is pick-up. If you need a special time, contact me and we'll make arrangements. Something to that effect. That allows her to provide the flexibility to her clients that her clients have grown to know for the last 13 years. And it's not going to have a major impact on the neighborhood.